At the top of the program, we told you about a new plan to replace Obamacare from Wisconsin Governor and Republican presidential candidate Scott Walker. Tonight, we go in depth with the governor from St. Paul, Minnesota, as he fights for traction in a GOP contest that has been turned upside down by Donald Trump. Governor, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. You have talked about starting baseline repealing Obamacare. That is agenda item number one. It's been attempted many times on Capitol Hill, but you say as President Walker, you would have an executive order that would make sure that Congress would not be exempt, would be fully under all the contours of Obamacare. And you think that would give them the needed motivation to repeal. How would that work?
Well, I think it would light a fire underneath Congress. You know, President Obama gave them an opt-out from the provisions of what everybody else has had to live with under Obamacare. This would ultimately get rid of that and force Congress to live under the same provisions as everybody else who lives under Obamacare. So this would executive action, remove the action President Obama took on as part of this package. And I think there's a lot of great reformers. I've talked to Paul Ryan, Congressman Price. I've talked to Senator Lee and others out there who really are eager to push forward reform. But just as there was in my state years ago when there were some Republicans who didn't want to challenge the status quo, I think the same thing's true in the Congress, and this would actually force action early on in our term. So once and for all, we could repeal Obamacare and replace it with something that put patients and families back in charge of their health care decisions.
Not surprising that the chief Democratic rival on the other side of the ticket, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, is opposed to your plan. She tweets this: 16 million Americans have gained health insurance from the Affordable Care Act. We need to protect it, not repeal it. Of course, there are a lot of young people up to age 26 who were on their parents' plans because of Obamacare. How do you sell a repeal to those who are benefiting?
Well, the bottom line is there's plenty better ways of doing it than through a government mandate. And of course Hillary Clinton says this. Hillary Clinton put in place the plan HillaryCare more than 2 decades before Obamacare. She would make it even worse for every problem that America has with the so-called Affordable Care Act, driving up premiums, dumping people off of their employer-sponsored plans, all the other problems we see out there. Those are things that would only get worse under Hillary Clinton. And remember how bad it was. We were told by the president himself, if you like your health care plan, if you like your doctor, you can keep that. That was PolitiFact's lie of the year. We've seen people lose their benefits from their employer-based system. We've seen premiums go through the roof. I'm here in Minnesota. I was here talking with the Speaker of the House here earlier. He talked about the huge increases that people are experiencing in the state. It's been anything but affordable. We need to have a better plan that gives patients and their families the freedom to make the choices themselves. And we have a way to help people get access to affordable and accessible health care, just not through a government mandate. That's a better plan that we're offering than what people like Hillary Clinton are pushing.
There's also criticism coming from within your party. One of your fellow 2016 GOP challengers, a fellow governor, Bobby Jindal out of Louisiana, he says this is essentially an entitlement, and you're setting up something that would give every single American human being from the time they're born right up until they grow old and become eligible for Medicare a new entitlement. How do you respond?
Well, our plan doesn't talk about Medicare, so you must be looking at somebody else's plan. The bottom line is we provide tax credits to allow people to go out without connection to their income. We apply tax credits out there so people can go out in the market themselves and buy health insurance if they don't have access to their employer. On top of that, we give people the ability to tap into more money for their health savings accounts. This would be one of the biggest tax cuts we've had in nearly 40 years. It would cut out all $1 trillion of the Obamacare tax increases there. It would get rid of the mandate. It would put power back in the hands of individual patients. And for those who have families, it would empower them and their families to make decisions and really control their money and control their health care decisions. This is something that's really about not just the mark, but more importantly, the individual patient. Makes it better, more affordable, more accessible, better quality, better choice. What can be more American than that? That's why we call it the Patient Freedom Plan.
Governor, you are used to facing down your opponents. It's happened at the Iowa State Fair on the campaign trail. We want to play a little bit of this as it played out as you were speaking there earlier just days ago.
We start by repealing Obamacare and putting patients and families back in charge of their health care going forward. I am not intimidated by you, sir, or anyone else out there. I will fight for the American people over and over and over and over again.
I feel like I saw a little bit of a smile on your face there, Governor. I mean, do you welcome the critics, the chance to engage them? Because that's proved to be a big winning point for you in the past.
Well, it is, because I know 17 great candidates. People are looking for who to get behind. A lot of people are good at talk, but talk is cheap. In the end, what people want is action. I think we've shown it. We took on 100,000 protesters. We showed it again at the Iowa State Fair. I'm not intimidated by them. I'm not intimidated by anybody else. I'm going to stand up and do what's right for the American people. I took on not just the big government union bosses and the liberal special interest groups from Washington. First off, I had to take on even some of the establishment in my own party. And if that means taking on the establishment in Washington to go up and not just repeal Obamacare, but do all the other things the American people are demanding, I think now more than ever, American voters want someone who can fight, who can win, who can get results, and who can do it without compromising our common sense conservative principles. If that's what you want on the next president, then I'm your candidate.
All right, quickly, Governor, we're almost out of time. I want to ask you about immigration, something you would be the first to say you have evolved on some of your ideas regarding immigration. You said this week that your plan would be very similar to what we saw Donald Trump roll out earlier this week. Let's talk about the issue of birthright citizenship, birthplace citizenship. Do you favor in some way repealing or restricting that for those who were born here on U.S. soil, regardless of their parentage?
Well, I've said what I said earlier this year on your very network, on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. I said that I had listened to the American people. I'd seen how President Obama had messed up the immigration system. I listened to governors and elected officials in the border state. And in fact, I do have a solid position, and I've said the same thing every day since then. I believe in securing the border, enforcing the laws. I do not believe in amnesty. I do not believe in amnesty, and going forward, I believe in a legal immigration system that gives priority to American working families and their wages in a way that will improve the American economy. In terms of that particular question or any of the others out there, we cannot address that. The American people should not trust any politician who talks about all the other things they're going to do if they cannot fundamentally show how they're going to secure the border and enforce the laws in this country. That's what I'm going to do as president. And like I said, I'm not intimidated on this issue or any other issue from doing the right thing. The American people want us to secure the border and uphold the laws of the land. No sanctuary cities. Uphold all the laws of this land, do not provide for amnesty, and that's what I'm going to do going forward.
But would any part of your plan include any part of repealing the 14th Amendment?
From our standpoint going forward, until we address these issues, all the other questions I get about immigration really fall by the side until we can show the American people that once and for all we can actually secure the border, put up a wall, have the technology, have the manpower, have the personnel to make sure that wall is secure. I just saw it earlier this year in Israel. They've got a 500-mile fence that they put up. They've got the personnel and the technology to make sure that it's working. It worked there. We saw more than a 90% reduction in terrorist-related acts once they did that. We need to do that for America. Our southern-based border is being penetrated every single day by drug cartels pushing drugs, firearms, human trafficking. No sovereign nation should be in a position to let that happen. As president, I'm going to secure the border once and for all, and I'm going to uphold the laws of the great United States of America.
Governor Scott Walker, thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.